What is up, everyone? Trying to get this fucker straight. What's up, Richard? How's it going? What's up, Jaden? What's up, everyone? Hope you guys make sure you're voting on my 1,000 followers match card, so you can be a part of the choice of what that card will look like. So right now we're just determining on what kind of match it is. It's either a tag team match, normal one, a tornado tag team match, fatal 4-way, or a option of your choice. But it will feature 4 participants. But tomorrow I'm going to have probably 2 questions depending on what the answer is tonight. So hopefully you guys can vote for those. We'll be waiting for Tour Wrestling. I think it's Toy Wrestling Fed. We'll just be waiting on him. I'm going to pause it real quick to go see who my next guest is so I can remember it for the end. Alrighty. I'm sure, guys, if you got any questions related to wrestling or pick fedding, now make sure to put them in the bowl for me and TWF to answer once he joins. Told him 7. I started a little early. Hopefully you get a few people in here before he gets in here. But yeah, we'll wait around for him. You guys get a kind of little preview of what these guys are wearing at the pay-per-view here in this little shot here. So it's a little exclusive stuff you get to see on the lives. So yeah, I still got to film that, so that's the next thing I'm going to be working on. Probably going to start it this week sometime. I know I'm going to start it this week. And this Toy Wrestling Fed will invite him into here. But make sure to put your questions in right there. A little question mark bubble there. You can put in questions and we will answer them. Oh, that changed my whole view. What's up, man? How's it going?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I think my headphones just died, but we're good.
That's not good. So,
Yeah, that's all.
So I normally like to try to get a feel of how long people's been doing this stuff. So when did you start doing pick fetting?
Well, actually, to be honest, I've been doing it off and on for probably like 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
My son, when he was about 5 or 6, kind of got into wrestling a little bit. We got him some figures here or there. And we started putting stuff on Instagram, and then I got kind of into it and seeing all these guys doing actual feds with it. So I would try to do some of that stuff, and it was ridiculously long posts, like 90-some pictures or something like that.
Yeah.
And people were like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And I really don't know. So I would stop, and then I'd get kind of back into it a little bit, and things was going really well, and it was building up, and I was doing some videos rather than just posting pictures and stuff. And then I almost got overboard with it in the sense I was trying to do too much. I was getting I was stressing myself out, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, these are toys, there ain't no sense in being stressed out. As a grown man being stressed out over toys is silly. So
Yeah.
I kind of got out of it again, and then my son getting older, he kind of got out of it completely. As far as the toy side of it, he still enjoys wrestling or whatnot, but and so we actually sold. I do actually independent. I'm a manager on some independent shows here in North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
And so when I would go to these shows, I would just take the figures, and I think we had 300 elites, and we had an entire room set up. It's pretty legit, but but since he was out of it, I was kind of like, what am I doing? And I didn't really know how to do it, so I just pretty much sold everything. And then recently, I had a lot of people say, "Man, we missed your stuff," and when are you going to start doing this again? And so I just wanted to sit sit down and kind of get back and have a little bit better structure. So that's kind of how I got back into it. But so technically, I guess 10 years, like I said, but recently, just since pretty much November, I guess.
November. Oh, that's cool. There's a lot of people go on and off in this stuff. It's just stressful stuff. You wouldn't think playing with toys is stressful, but it gets stressful.
Exactly, right? Like you want to do a good job with it too, and then it's like, dang, then you get I do something, I'm like, man, I didn't like how I did that, so I'm gonna start over, and then that stressed me out. So it is what it is.
Yeah. So who are your current champions right now? As you can see right on my screen, there's my world champion and Chris Jericho. Who are some of your current champions?
Well, currently we have two champions. I've got them here. We got Randy Orton. I don't know if I can show you my lighting in here is terrible, but there it is. Bad Billy J Belts with the custom belt, so shout out to him. So Randy's our world heavyweight champion, and then we got the Seth freaking Rollins as the television champion currently. So and then we're going to be adding. Actually, I don't want to give away too much, but we're going to be adding a tag team division here coming up shortly. So
awesome. Yeah, I'm hoping to add a tag team division pretty soon as well. So yeah. So can you give us a little backstory of how your pick fed started and the story so far from from your first show to now? Or
yeah, absolutely. So like I said, before I was, stressing myself out with everything, and with, like I said, I do independent wrestling here in North Carolina. So most independent shows run once a month. So I started looking at it, and I was like, man, I could probably get away with once a month,
right.
And I'm doing stuff on, it gives me time to edit and, record and all that and get it out and still not be stressed out about it. So that's kind of how I was going. And what I've done with everything schedule-wise is I'm doing 4 main shows, 4 main pay-per-views, if you will. So we have the Rumble in January, which I built up to, and then we'll have Mania in April, and then we'll do one called Justice for All, which will basically be SummerSlam type idea.
Yeah.
And that'll be in July. And then we have what I'm going to call Ultimate Survivor, which is basically a take on Survivor Series with a little bit of a twist. Again, I don't want to give away everything,
Right.
So what I wanted to do, though, as I got started, I didn't want to, I see a lot of people kind of go ahead and crown a champion right away, which there's nothing wrong with.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to do something a little different. So I decided to go ahead and run off with a tournament. So I figured if I had, since it started in November, I could crown the first champion, at the Rumble, as well as, crown the number 1 contender, obviously, with whoever won the Rumble. So that's what I decided to do. And I'm doing, I know a lot of people do this too, but I'm doing like more of a fan vote type deal. So basically I just picked 8 figures that I thought would be legitimate champions, and kind of put them in that first first show, which I think I called Genesis, and that was the first round of the tournament. That's pretty much all the entire show was that. And so then from that point, however people voted, we kind of went with the stories from there. So obviously, long story short with that, originally I was only going to crown 1 champion, which technically we did, but I kind of wanted to have a second championship, but I didn't really know how I wanted to go about it. So then I just basically made the loser of the semifinal matches kind of be thrown into that television championship match, because I didn't want to add too many figures right away. I think that gets a little stressful too. So basically we had the build up with the tournament. Obviously in the semifinals, Randy Orton beat Seth Rollins. Seth tried to cheat because that's what Seth does, and it backfired on him there. So he ended up in the other match, and then of course Brock Lesnar was on the other side of that, and then Randy Orton defeated Lesnar. Lesnar got injured at the Rumble, which was a good way for me to kind of start to get some more figures in here, since he had several matches. And then, of course, we had the Rumble itself, which we had the build up to that. I kind of, obviously with the Rumble and with being new, and it only, you know, having so many figures, I didn't want to have like a 20-man Rumble. So like 15 brand new guys you've never seen are now in the Rumble. That just didn't make any sense to me. So what I did was I picked 5 guys who had at least been on the show so far, even if they hadn't necessarily had a match. You've, you know, at least seen them on YouTube on my channel. So 5 current guys, and then we went with 5 new guys. That allowed me to get some guys in there. And then, you know, obviously from there, you know, I wanted to have something. You have to have a big match for Mania. You have to have the, you know, the biggest show you can, if it's going to, or the biggest match, biggest main event if it's going to be the biggest show. So, you know, I kind of toyed with the idea. You know, I introduced Roman on the show as far as him entering the Rumble and him making that statement there. And then, of course, I had a Steve Austin figure, and I thought, you know, that would be another guy, because I was kind of looking at both of those guys as maybe being in the main event. And then I had what I think was a good idea anyway, an idea of them having an issue there. Of course, you know, if you go back and watch the videos, Sammy tries to step in to kind of, you know, say, Steve, hey, you don't disrespect the tribal chief, blah, blah, blah. And, of course, you know, Austin did what Austin does. He stuns him. And then, of course, Roman came in after that and speared Steve Austin at that point. So they kind of set up a little bit of, you know, hey, we're both pissed off at each other. We're both going to be in the Rumble, blah, blah, blah. And then, obviously, with that, you can't have them be anywhere but number 1 and number 2, you know. So I put him in there, and with the ultimate idea that I would pick one of those guys to be the winner. But then I happened to stumble across a sweet Ric Flair Ultimate Edition, and I was like, I've got to buy it, you know. And if I've got Flair, I mean, as much as I like the other guys, it's working out to where I've kind of started a rivalry between those 2 guys, which their payoff will be at Mania, but it just won't be obviously for a belt. I'll save that for later. And so right now, Ric Flair obviously came in, won the Rumble. And I put Hogan at the end, you know, especially with the fan vote thing. The fan votes have gone like 95% of them have been the opposite of what I wanted. So, which is fine. I'm totally okay with that, you know. But with that, it makes it a little interesting, you know. And I know people like, you know, I like Cena. I always like Cena. And I know people like are tired of Cena. So they say, you know, if they're going to pick him to lose or whatever. And the same way with Hogan. So I kind of snuck Hogan in at the end of the Rumble. And even somebody messaged me that night. They're like, bro, Hogan win. And I was going to be pissed. But so I was like, yeah, I got you, you know. But of course, I had Flair win. And then, you know, I had Austin and Roman last to the last, you know, the final 3. I'm sorry, the final 4. And then they ended up eliminating themselves and both fell out at the same time. So they still got that kind of tension between them or whatnot. And so we got that going on. And then I really wanted to have a triple threat match. I didn't want Mania to end up being, you know, single match, you know, tag team match finally. So I decided I had the CM Punk figure and I had the Bret Hart figure, and obviously they both have the gimmick of, you know, I'm the best there is, best there was, best there ever will be, and I'm the best in the world. And then of course you have Chris Jericho, so if Jericho would have won, it would have been even better. But people wanted Seth to win, which is fine. I didn't mind Seth winning either. But you know, Chris Jericho is the best in the world at what he does, so you would have all that, like, who's really the best. So anyway, I've set up a triple threat match between Seth, Bret Hart, and CM Punk for Mania there. So everything's setting up pretty nicely so far. You know, we got this next show where we'll kind of add to some storyline. I'm actually was hoping to have, I'm trying to do the first of every month, but like with life, it happens, you know what I'm saying? So I'm actually a little bit behind on that. So probably another week and a half at least until I get the next episode coming out. But that'll kind of solidify some of these stories we got going into Mania. And then we'll have like, I think I'm doing 5-6 matches, I believe. So, and I don't want to give them all away because some of them will pop up on the next show. You have to wait and find out. Maybe a surprise, you know?
Right. So you kind of told us a little bit of your future plans, your upcoming show is Mania. You have an upcoming, your weekly show. So we'll get into some of your ranking type stuff, top 5 list. Just name off some guys here.
Okay.
What are some of your favorite pick feds you watched? What are stuff you enjoy?
Favorite pick feds that I
Yeah.
keep up with. Okay, so man, that's tough because I'm a guy that when it comes to stuff like this, I like pretty much all of it.
Right. Right.
Not I'm not trying to be completely political with this, you know. But I know that like Spam, I've seen some of his stuff. I've gone back and watched. I'm trying to go back and watch the beginning of everybody's stuff. I don't like to catch the end because I like to see. I guess I'm a nerd that way. I like to see how you got to where you are. You know what I'm saying? So Spam, I've checked out a lot of, and I want to say, don't hate me if I get this wrong. Is there a GCW?
Yeah.
It's like a green logo. Like I get like my ADD's kicking in right now.
Yeah. There's
Um,
a company called GCW on YouTube that's pretty big.
yeah. So I've checked out some of his stuff. Of course, obviously I've checked out some of your stuff and that. But as far as ranking, man, I'm not that guy to to put somebody above somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Because with all of this, I mean, I feel like you got you got kids doing this kind of stuff. You know, teenagers and some even younger, and then of course you got guys like us that are adults doing it. And I like to see the creativity from everybody. You know what I'm saying? And it's cool to me. I've seen a few that I'm not going to call out, but it's like I feel like they're just kind of going along. Whatever WWE or AEW is currently doing is like what they're doing,
Right.
which is fine. I know it's hard not to see something and want
Get
to
it?
go that direction. Yeah. So or at least be influenced too. So, but yeah, I'll stick with the political answer. If that's okay.
So, kind of going off that one, what are some of your guys that maybe aren't so big? You could say the kids that are just starting out. What are some of the underrated people in the pick fed community?
Oh man. Let me try to think here. I know that like all right, so AFWE, I can think of him off the top of my head because I actually when I first started, that's what I was. I was AFWE, and then I came back at one point. I think he was just getting started. It was a few years back. And he was like, "Hey, bro, we got the same name." I was like, "Dude, sorry, but I've been running this forever, and I'm too, I'm too old to change now, you know." So, but I've seen some of his stuff, and I know like, I don't know how old he is, but he seems younger.
Yeah.
But I feel like he does a pretty good job with it, man. Like, I see a lot, and I know I feel like you do this a lot too with some of your stuff. Is like you have some of the actual picks, but then you have like an action move or something where you just have videoed it and put it in like that, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'd probably knock all my crap down if I tried something like that, I'm just uncoordinated, I guess, but he's one that sticks out. Again, man, I would love to like. I feel like I'm not giving you any answers here,
No,
but
you're good.
my old age is kicking in.
You're good. At least give me one answer that's I'm good with that. So,
Yeah,
kind of get into
yeah,
more of the wrestling aspect, the real life aspect of this kind of stuff. What are some
yeah.
of your favorite matches, like that you may have seen in person, down in North Carolina, or seen on TV?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Well, I can talk about this all day, man, because I feel like it's what I live right now. But first of all, as far as matches go locally, and these are guys that I think you'll start to see. If you pay attention to AEW Dark, especially,
Yeah.
a lot of guys that I have trained with that I'm on shows on the regular basis are on AEW Dark quite a bit. Which they're getting going. And one name I can think of is like Alexander Moss. He's kind of an up and comer, and you got two, and I call them kids because they're still kids to me. I think they're 19. One's 19, one's 18. But Jackson Drake and Jay Malachi. If you like, if anybody's watching this hasn't like heard of these guys, go look them up on YouTube. Look up Firestar Pro Wrestling on YouTube, and you can see a lot of their matches. They're going to be up there before you know it. It's unbelievable, man. I'm in awe every time I see him wrestle. I've been seeing them wrestle since they were 13,
Wow.
and it's crazy. So as far as the on-screen stuff, so I'm not people may hate me when I say this. I'm not a huge AEW fan. As far as like I got a lot of friends that go to Dark, like I said, and I'm a big wrestling fan, so I've got no issue with that. I just, for whatever reason, the presentation of a lot of what they do, like how they do certain things and different things, for whatever reason, I just don't like it. It's not like I'm not knocking it by any means.
Yeah.
Because if they called me right now and said, "Hey, we want you to come be a manager," I would leave this interview and then we would be going there. So, but you know, as far as AEW and WWE, the Bloodline stuff, man, is probably legitimately the best stuff I've seen in the last 15 to 20 years, easy.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's been some good stuff, but it just, you know, a lot of people, you know, and I was trying to talk to my son about this because my son has always loved heels. He's always a big Orton fan. He's always a big Rollins fan, especially that run that Rollins had with, like, the Authority. My son ate that stuff up, man. He just loved it. It was never a big fan of the faces, you know, and then when the Shield broke up and you got Roman trying to be a face and it just, everybody was booing him. He couldn't talk to save his life. It just, you know, was going straight down the toilet faster than you know. And then you look at him now, man, and legit, he's the best in the world. That's, you know, hands down. And it's just something that it's been fun to watch. Like, again, I'm a nerd. I'm a big promo guy. Like, I did wrestle a little bit. I've only wrestled a couple matches or whatnot, but I realized real quick it hurts. And, you know, a lot of people, oh, it's fake. Just try it one time. Come in the ring with me one time, and let's see what happens. But you know, what I do well is talk. You know, as far as promos and things like that, I do a pretty decent job with that. So I eat that stuff up, and just you know, the adding Sammy in, and not even just for the comedic part of it, which has been hilarious. You know, when you can make Roman and the Usos break character like every segment, you know, but just the emotion that he puts in it, man. And then, of course, Cody coming back and adding all that together, I just think it's been great. And that's probably my favorite stuff right now. Again, I'm not knocking like AEW. Like I said, I just don't keep up with it. I mean, I keep up with it enough to know what's going on, but there's nothing there that has really drawn me in nearly as much as Roman and everything right now.
Yeah. Well, I have no problem with that answer. That wrestling fans have their own opinions, so you don't have to like everything. So you kind of answered a few questions I was going to answer than that little bit there. What are some moments? It could be from this Bloodline story moments, when the Brock Lesnar return, maybe. I don't know, this turn on Sami Zayn. What are some of your favorite moments? Could be either farther back or stuff that's been going on now.
Okay, so if I can go all the way back, you know, of course I grew up with Hogan and Sting and the Horsemen, you know, all the, you know, the golden era, whatever people want to call it.
Yeah.
You know, I remember, you know, convincing my parents to let me watch the pay-per-views, pay for the pay-per-views and stuff. You know, seeing Hogan slam Andre, I know it's not, when you look at it now, it's like, okay, any dude can pick up anybody else. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
But as like a little kid watching that, like about, you know, I felt like about pooping my pants, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh my gosh. So just those kind of memories, you know, is big for me as far as going all the way back. You know, anything to do with Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat, I mean, I can't even pick one. Just if they're in the ring together, then yes, that's the answer. And then, you know, recently, man, probably the promo, or any promo recently, either the one with Heyman and Cody, where he's talking about making things personal, he's going to take the belts personally, or the one recently with Sammy and Jimmy, I believe.
Yeah.
Just like I said, the emotion, man. It's something, and that's what I try to tell people, you know, that I work with on shows. And I'm actually working with a guy right now. He don't think he'll check something like this out, but I'll make sure he watches it later so I can tell him I called him out. But he's like legitimately built for TV. He's like 6'4". He's like 270, nothing but muscle. It looks like a cross between like Goldberg, Lesnar, and Batista all wrapped up into one.
Oh, wow.
He's got everything he needs except for that emotion. You know what I'm saying? That's just not his personality. I'm like, well, dude, I'm scared of my own shadow. But you got to get to the point where, you know, you come out, or he'll like yell like he's yelling to the 200 people that are actually in attendance. But I'm like, bro, you got to act like there's 10,000 people here. You know what I'm saying? And make every one of them feel it. So So all those promos, like I just mentioned, you know, anything that I can feel like that is gold. It's absolute gold.
Exactly. So, kind of got a feel of your favorites here. Maybe Ric Flair, Ricky's Dragon Steamboat feels like one of some of your favorites. Who are some of your favorite wrestlers of all time and maybe of today?
Okay, all time, you know, obviously Flair. Flair will probably be the top just because, like I said, I like the promos, the flair, you know, I guess pun intended that he added to everything. You know, obviously, like I said, I grew up with, you know, Rock and Roll Express, those type of guys. You know, I love tag team wrestling. The Steiners, like I like the Steiner, like the singlet wearing, you know, Rick Steiner coming out with the wrestling headgear on. Those were my type of things that I enjoyed. Obviously, anything the Horsemen were in. Currently, I'm a fan of Cody, like I mentioned a second ago. But gosh, I mean, the list can go on and on. You know, anything with of course, like I said, I'm a, you know, Cena fan. I always have been. Rollins, any of those guys, I guess. You know, like I said, I could pick a wrestler. I'll say yes. I mean, I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Right. So, where was I? Kind of went with some of you talked about a few storylines earlier. What are some of your favorite pay-per-views that you've seen?
Favorite pay-per-views that I've seen?
Yeah.
Honestly, gosh, overall pay-per-views. Let me think. Man, I guess I'm going off basically just a couple of matches when I say this, but the Clash at the Castle with, you know, you had Sheamus and Gunther or whatever they call him now. That one definitely had my attention. I'm trying to think. The Rumbles, I always like Rumbles. I mean, I could say you're sitting. I mean, that's literally well, actually, I'm working through WrestleManias right now on the WWE network or whatever, on Peacock, I guess it is now. But Rumbles, I always that hype of you don't know who's next and stuff like that. I've always kind of gotten into that. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Rumbles are always fun, even if they are horrible sometimes.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Sometimes I'm like, really, like, what is this? You know, but still, I guess the anticipation is what builds up for me.
All right. Well, that's exactly. Someone asked this question, but I was going to ask it anyways right now. So, who are you? You said you were a tag team fan. Who are some of your favorite tag teams?
All right, favorite tag teams. Of course, I'll go with the Horsemen. I know that wasn't it was actually a faction, but you know, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard would have to be up there. Legion of Doom would have to be up there. Rock and Roll Express. You know, honestly, the Usos have really, you know, I like the Usos with the whole tribal thing that they used to do. And then I just felt like it was getting a little stale, which obviously I guess is why they switched it up.
Yeah.
But they pretty much solidified themselves. I mean, you know, with what they've been able to do and stuff. Let's see. Probably left somebody out, I'm sure. Like I said, Steiners earlier. That's a team that I really enjoyed watching. The Hardys. You know, when they're, and I kind of like them both ways. I don't mind the whole broken gimmick or the just straight up the other way. So that would probably, I guess, be my answers.
All right. So you said you got a custom belt for your Fed. What are some championship designs that you like and just feel like they're just a great looking championship? Maybe they're just a winner of the championship. What are some of your favorite championships?
Okay. Well, my favorite belt of all time is the old World Championship, like the big gold. I think I've got it.
Yeah.
I'd have to go dig it out. I've got a lot of little ones, but that's my favorite. Yeah, there it is. That belt is my favorite of all time. I just like the way it looks. I like how big it is. You know, I figure if you're a world champion, people ought to be able to know it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I like that. I like honestly like some newer belts. I mean, I think the AEW championship looks great. You know, I think it's like it was a different design with the different side plates and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yep.
Um, I like the old. Yes, that right there. Yep. And if I should have been more prepared, all my stuff is across the room. But um, then I like the old United States belt where it basically just looked. I mean, it's not the old. It's not the one. Or the one they have now doesn't look terrible. But the one before that, with it looked like an actual flag.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I like the tag. Where did I put? Let me see. Let me grab this real quick. The tag belts that I'm using are the old. I don't know if you can see. Try to get up where the. I don't know if it'll zoom in or not, but it's kind of like the light in here is like absolutely terrible. But the old tag team belts, probably from like, I want to say they were early '90s, maybe.
I think I'm using that same. That's what I'm gonna use for when I start mine.
Yeah. So it's the same belt as that. Yeah, it's just it looks a little different because of the way when he made it custom. I guess they have to like cure or
It's
whatever.
different, yeah.
So, yeah, so it looked a little blue, but yeah, they turned out really well. But yeah, so that would probably I can't think of another belt that. Of course, I like the white Intercontinental belt too.
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty. I just like the white. I thought it looked good. So yeah, yep. I think white and gold look so good together. So
Yeah.
it's hard to argue with that.
So, kind of get back into the figures aspect of this. What are some of your favorite figures? You recently said you saw that Ric Flair Ultimate, and you're just like, I gotta have that. What are
Yeah.
some figures that you just enjoy?
Well, okay. So my favorite, because I like all of the. I think I've gotten looking at them here, probably 6 or 7 of the Ultimate ones that I've gotten. Which I just like the fact, especially for this, how much you can bend them and different things like that. It makes them really easy to use. Obviously, probably the favorite figure I own though. I have the have a Dusty Rhodes, like the. It's not the polka dots. It's not the yellow polka dots. It's like the red polka dots.
Hmm.
I think it came with, I don't remember what series it was, but it came with like the black little. It's like not even like a shirt, just like a thing he throws over him, and it came with like the cowboy hat with the claw or whatever, like the turkey looking claw or whatever it was. Yeah, so that's probably my favorite figure. I'm just a huge Dusty fan anyway, though. And then of course I have the what is AEW doesn't call it Ultimate. What do they call their fancy
green.
ones? Yeah. So I've got the Cody, one of that. So that would be probably my favorite AEW figure. And then of course I take that back. I got the Cameron Grimes. That was the ringside exclusive. See, Cameron's actually I've been on shows with him. So.
Oh, wow.
Of course, when he was Trevor Lee, he's actually from this area. He worked for a promotion not recently, shut down a couple of years ago. So just because I know him, and I was able to get that figure, that's pretty cool. So
Yeah. So, what are some figures you'd like to get? There's a lot of stuff coming out. There's always figures coming out, I think.
Yeah,
I just noticed
there's
the
too much coming
WrestleMania
out.
thing was at my Walmart, and I wanted to get them all. What are some figures you're going to?
All right, so yes, that's the great answer to that. So I'm trying to hold myself back. My PlayStation actually died, so I do some streaming and stuff on Twitch with that, along with all of what I do with this. So I got to replace that eventually. So every time I see a new figure come out, I'm just like, oh my gosh, So I'm trying to like hold myself down, but.
Right.
A couple of things. Obviously, I would like to get the Usos. And these are a lot of these figures I would have had, like all the old ones that I had. Like I had all of the original Demolition. Got them all in the box. New had the Legion of Doom and all that. When I sold them, then I was like, I'm gonna go buy some of those guys. And now the price is like jacked up. So I guess I'll just enjoy that I had them. But. I know like Braun Breaker's coming out fairly soon, I believe.
104, Series 104, I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe so. And then I think Rick Steiner comes out in that series. So those,
yeah,
yeah, I like those type of guys. I like some, obviously any of the old school guys I like. And what I've decided this time, last time I went crazy. Before I was more of a quote unquote collector.
yeah.
Now I'm looking at what I could use for my Fed and trying to keep it to
Exactly.
that. But
Exactly.
it doesn't cost me an arm and a leg. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I do. I try to buy figures I'd use for my Fed, so I don't really get the old school figures, but if there's something I could like take off of them for like a custom, I may buy them. But I'm not a really
Yeah,
old school because I like to keep it more modern. But I
yeah,
would love to add people like an Eddie or guys that aren't with us, like a Brody Lee and stuff. But,
yeah.
but adding those older guys that aren't wrestling anymore, that's a lot of people do it. So, but it's just not for me. But
Yeah,
if you're a Hogan fan and you have Hogan in your Fed, it's going to be hard not to get them all.
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
So, uh, so what are some of the figures you like fedding with that you just think, this one's so good, it always stands up right where I want it, poses how I want it, it never
Yeah,
you want to spike it on the ground.
yeah. And that's so true, man. That you said that because that's literally why I was hoping that people would not vote for Moxley or Jericho on my Fed because my figures they are terrible. Like they bend okay, but like they both just constantly fall over. I'm constantly having to use some string or something to hold them up.
Mm,
Um, but the Seth figure I have is really good. It's flex, all the joints and stuff move well, but at the same time, it's not too loose where it just falls over. You know what I'm saying?
right.
And then let's see. I know like the AJ Styles figure I have is good. Some of the ultimates they work well, but sometimes they almost flex too much. They're perfect for pictures, but like a lot of times when you're doing certain things, if you're trying to hold a pose for too long,
Right.
you gotta hustle and get the picture taken. Um, and I typically, honestly, I hate to say this, but I try to avoid a lot of the AEW figures. It seems
Yeah.
like I got two. I actually have the Young Bucks. I was going to use the Young Bucks for the tag team division, and then when I was getting them out of the box, they both fell apart. Like both figures just crumbled,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my gosh, So I finally got them out of the thick, hard jackets, which I don't even know why. If anybody is watching that has to do with WWE figures or AEW figures, please make cloth clothing.
Right.
I swear. But anyway, so I finally got them put back together, but then I stand them up and they just fall over. So I'm like, well, these are great shelf warmers, I guess. So I may end up using them. I don't know. But and I got the Wardlow figure, so I haven't used it yet. But as far as just kind of messing around with it, I feel like it's gonna
Yeah,
be
the
pretty neat.
Woodloop one's pretty good. Is that the
Yeah.
Amazon 2-pack bucks you were talking about? No, those came apart.
No, I got them separate actually at GameStop. GameStop was having a sale that I couldn't, I mean, it was like 50% off of what it was already off, and they were already like 50% off. I mean, they pretty much paid me to take them is what I felt like.
Uh,
Which is maybe why I shouldn't complain that they're falling apart, but they
yeah.
still sucks.
Yeah. The AEW, there's a lot of figures that aren't very good. The Young Bucks are really bad. I have them in
Yeah.
my Fed, and I used them for this pay-per-view last part one, and oh, it's such a pain. They can't stand. Their legs are just so loose. But
Yeah,
I'm an
exactly. Like one of them.
AEW fan, so I want to get
Yeah,
all.
one of the ones I have is like the knee joint is like literally bending off the side. It's like someone opened it and like bent it and just stuck it back in that way. Like I don't know, but
So, so there's jobbers in wrestling. What are some guys you have as jobbers, if you have any, for your pick fed?
oh well, actually, so far the only guy I would consider an actual jobber that I have is Miro. It didn't. I wasn't necessarily going to put him as a jobber, except for I was looking at what I had, and I really didn't want to make anybody else look weak. So it wasn't a total job, I guess, the the first match. He's only actually been in one match and then the Rumble, but I had him in the match against Cena. You know, after Cena lost, like I said, I kind of want to see. I try to base everything. I know I'm kind of going down rabbit trails here, but I try to base everything off the fan vote. So with the fan vote, when Cena lost to Jericho on that first show, he only lost by one vote. So I was kind of like, okay, I kind of want to get him to the point where let me put him against somebody else, and if he just gets trashed in the vote, then I'll just not use him. You know what I'm saying? I'll make him a jobber maybe. I don't know. So I had Miro go against Cena, and that's when I introduced my version of the Dark Order, which is The Fiend, Kane, and Brody Lee. Because I'm not really a big fan of the actual Dark Order, like the number so-and-so and number so-and-so, and hey, we all look alike. And to me, I don't know. It's not for me. I'm not judging. I'm just saying. So anyway, so I introduced him there. So Miro actually lost because of disqualification, so that wasn't really the job. But the job came in with the Rumble, so he literally got into the match, like stepped in, yelled, and then Roman Superman punched him like right back out. So I think he lasted like 5-6 seconds. So he's a guy that I'm going to kind of use if I just want to build somebody up real quick. Let him go against him. So.
Yeah. Well, I got guys like that. I started off, Kenny Omega was my jobber. He lost like 6 or 5 matches, his first 6-5 matches.
Oh, wow.
But James Ellsworth is a really good jobber for your pig fed if you have that figure.
Yeah.
Probably use Bo Dallas a lot. I got a lot of custom guys I made that are just random Frankenstein figures.
Gotcha.
Just local talent type guys. So
yeah,
I think having jobbers is pretty good, especially if you're doing. I do a ranking system, so
exactly. Yeah.
So yeah. So you always want to change stuff. You always want to do something different. What are some things you'd change in your pig fed right now, if any?
What I would change, let me see. Since I've kind of, doing it once a month, I've only really had like, 5? Let's see, I got November, December, January. So I've had about 4 or 5 shows so far. Right now, I don't think I would necessarily change it. Maybe one thing I would change is maybe having one more match or one more segment per show, just to be able to kind of help develop things a little bit. And the biggest change, like I said, I'm doing everything once a month. I guess I didn't really remember, like my son plays sports, so he's going to be super busy. He plays baseball and soccer, so he's going to be super busy here coming up. Yeah. So trying to balance everything and get it. I don't want to just be like, hey, I'm going to take 2 months off right now, and then we'll get to Mania later, because I think that's dumb because you don't have any sort of payoff. But that would be maybe looking into that a little bit better, maybe what I would change. But as far as matches and stuff, I feel pretty good with everything we've had so far. I feel like I kind of want to integrate. Like you said, you do more modern stuff. I kind of like to do it where it's a little mix or whatever. And I've been able to integrate some of those older guys in with all of that, and I've been able to integrate in. I kind of wish, one thing I do wish I would have done originally, and of course I've had them start doing it now, but a couple of my friends are actually helping me with this as far as voiceovers, like Ben Grayson. I've made him my owner. Benny is actually a manager of a faction here in North Carolina they're taking off pretty well, doing a good job. He's also an amazing referee. I know people think referees just count to 3, but it's so much more than that. And Benny is legitimately the best. Like if I had to have a match right now and I could pick one ref in the world, I would pick him. He's good. And of course, Houston Ball, he's actually a general manager of a show I was actually on Saturday. And it was weird because that's the first time I've actually met him in person. Like, I hit him up because I'm like, bro, you look like Jamie Noble. I was like, how'd you like to be a part of this? I don't even know if he liked figures at the time, Yeah. He's like, bro, that's awesome. He actually is sending me some stuff today. I'm like, bro, you're holding me up, man. I need your sound. I'm trying to get this thing done,
Yeah.
but I would have liked maybe to look at that earlier and maybe kind of instead of starting and then adding those guys, maybe have it a little bit more, I guess, organized from the beginning. I felt like I was more organized this time than ever, but at the same time, now I'm like, crap, I wish I would have done this, but I'm not going back. I'm not stopping.
Yeah. So
Did that too many times, yeah.
So, what kind of made you start? What? How do I want to word this? I guess what kind of made you fall into wrestling? What made you just say, "Yeah, I want to do that. I want to be a part of that. I want to be a fan of wrestling for the rest of my life."
Yeah, okay, so that's an easy one. I fell in love with wrestling with my granddad, actually. I spent a lot of time at my granddad's house when I was little. Me and my brother did. And what was on TV there was either Braves baseball, WCW, or WWF. It didn't matter. If something else was on, that's fine. But when any of those three things came on, the world stopped, and that's what we did, you know. So that's where I fell in love with wrestling. Now, as far as, you know, getting further, you know, I guess I was like, I won't say like every kid, because a lot of people stay fans throughout it. When I got to be a teenager, I was just kind of like, wrestling is whatever. You know, I kind of gotten out of it. I was busy with other things. I didn't really get back into it until to my son kind of, you know, until he met my granddad, and my granddad got him into wrestling, and, you know, the process, you know, started over.
Wow.
And then, you know, seeing how much my son, you know, loved it. I mean, he ate it up, and we just, you know, I took him to a couple of live shows. We actually drove to South Carolina. I live in Randall, in North Carolina, which is like just south of Greensboro, so like right in the middle of the state. And we drove like 3.5 hours down to Columbia, South Carolina, where I'm from. We actually stayed with my granddad that night, and we went to a house show. And it was the main event was Cena and Rollins. So it was during the whole Authority thing, and Cena hit Rollins with an AA off the top rope through 2 tables, and it, like, my son, like, racing out of his life. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of whatever, you know, that kind of, I guess, solidified that, and he got into this, and then of course I'm like a big kid, you know, like the Toys R Us kid, I guess, that,
Yeah.
you know, now I have an excuse to buy toys because I have a kid, you know, and kind of went with that. And then, of course, I found out about independent wrestling. I sound like not a fan of wrestling when I say this, but I had no idea there was independent wrestling, you know.
Wow.
I was like, man, I'm not trying to pay like that much money every time and drive that far for a wrestling show. And somebody that I worked with was like, dude, there's like local wrestling like literally 30 minutes from your house. And I was like, shut up, you know. So we went, and I took him to one of those shows for the first time when he was probably 8 at the time when I took him to one of those. And it was like $25 for both of us on the front row with all you can eat. And my kid eats like a horse. And I'm like, sign me up for this, you know.
Wow.
And I remember it's like the Dawson brothers, which I don't think they've really made it up to anything where a lot of people know who I'm talking about. But they're a tag team. And my son, it was like, you suck or whatever, you know, because they're the heels or whatever. And that dude was like nose to nose with my kid, like yelling at him. And it was the greatest thing ever, you know. So I got hooked there, man, and I was like, you know, I don't know. I always have thought of myself as a casual fan. I'm not one of these guys that, like, you know, that's all I talk about or whatever else. But at the same time, when I got the opportunity to get into it and then start training and meet these guys and, you know, get to travel to go get my butt kicked and make a few dollars, it's been pretty cool, you know.
Yeah. Just sounds great, man. Great. So, what would you tell someone that's just starting out? Someone who's wanting to start a pick fed. They got a few things, got a few figures, they got a ring. What would you tell them to help them get started?
The biggest thing I would tell them is just take your time. You know, when you get started, don't do what I did. Don't jump into it and rush through everything. You know, what I do now, which, you know, I don't know, maybe you do this and maybe this isn't weird, but, you know, what I did when I started, I just got a piece of paper out, and I was like, okay, here's who I have. Here's where I am, which is nowhere, obviously. And here's where I want to get to. And then what I basically, like right now, I could tell you, which I don't want to give everything away, but I could tell you like a skeleton idea of what I'm doing all the way through like the next Mania. Now, obviously, that will change with fan votes, and I may get a figure here or there, and that may, but I just wanted to plan it out because I feel like that's what I never did to start with. The next thing I would say is don't get too worried about what other people are doing. Somebody's always going to have something nicer than you. You know what I'm saying? And someone is always going to have a better camera than you or a better setup than you. And like I'm fortunate that we've got the room that I'm sitting in. I don't know. I'll kind of turn that. I mean, that's kind of like my arena and everything.
Yeah.
I'll turn a little bit further. I think and there's a monitor up there somewhere. Yeah, there. Sorry, I can't really see from looking into this, but so I have it set up to where for all like the entrances, there's an actual YouTube channel. I can't remember the guy's name, or I would drop it right now, but where he has some figure entrances and stuff, and I do some things like that. But if you don't have that, then so what? Don't stress out about that. Just do what you can do, and even if it's set up on the floor, like I said, just take your time and have fun with it. That's the biggest thing. Be creative. That, to me, if I don't do anything with this other than it just keeps my mind thinking wrestling, it keeps, okay, how would I do this and how would I book this? I'm not one of those guys that watches TV and says, oh my gosh, they did this. I mean, I take that back. I am, because we all do.
Yeah.
But I'm not one that's going straight to Twitter and blasting, WWE or AEW for, their crappy show and whatever. I may think it was a crappy show, but who cares,
Mm-hmm.
I just like to be thinking, okay, does what happened make sense? Is what I'm doing makes sense? And that's big in wrestling. I think it's lost a lot with some of the TV stuff. You got a little bunch of spot monkeys, doing their backflips and stuff, which is great. It's a cool move. Didn't make sense at all, and sold 47 moves before that, but it's whatever, But just to make it make sense and to tell a story, that's what wrestling is stories. My show, I do short matches. Like I think the longest match I've had so far is like 3 minutes and some odd seconds. I want my shows, most of the videos, I think Mania will be longer, but most of my shows are going to be about 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
It's not overbearing to sit down and watch and be like, oh my gosh, I'm only halfway through this, but I want it to tell a story, and I feel like, and maybe it doesn't, maybe people think my stuff sucks, I don't know, I don't really care, but at the same time, I feel like I can look at it and see the story, and that's what I feel good about. So that would be the biggest thing. Just tell a story with it, have fun, take your time.
Well, that's a great answer. So with that, what are the things that you don't like about it? What are things that you just absolutely annoy you, absolutely make you want to just punch a wall or something? What just makes you not like doing this stuff?
The biggest thing that I don't like is I'm a very impatient person, okay? So I want things done right now. Boom, it's done. It's over with. Let's move on. It takes time. It really does. And what I've done for me, it's helped me out is, like I said, I'm back into streaming now, so my schedule's changed a little bit. But typically what I've been doing is only spending about 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour tops per night doing it. And that way I can just walk away from it and not be stressed out that, oh my gosh, I took 80 pictures and I'm only a minute and 30 through a match, or something like that. So that's the thing that drives me insane, is just how long it does take. And it's the editing part of it. I want so bad for it to look really good, and then sometimes it doesn't work out how I wanted it, and I'm like, screw it, I'm not redoing this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that part can be frustrating too. Like in your mind, it looks so good, and then when you do it, it looks so not good. So it's like, whatever. But yeah, the time that it takes is probably I would say the most annoying.
Yeah, I agree on that one. The posing when they don't stand is something I really hate. Makes me want to just throw a figure. I've broken it only one so far, which was the ref. The referee,
Well, you went ahead of me. I've walked away. I'll admit that. I felt like breaking it, but
the referee in the background after you just set some a hard pose. You've been trying to do it for like 10 minutes here, and then the ref falls. You got to
Yeah,
pick him up, and they fall.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I have
yeah, yeah.
decided to take the ref out during the background. He's no longer in the background of the matches anymore, but he will
Yeah.
come in and do the counts. That's all he's here for. So,
Well, and that's what I may start doing because I noticed on this show, in the first match I did, and I may have been that way in some of the ones I put on YouTube, I just didn't pay attention, that like, let's say the action is moved to the left and the ref is still looking to the right, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I
yeah,
don't want to have to read this stuff,
yeah.
so.
That's just something that's just adding a ref. It looks good, makes it look realistic, but it's just way too much extra little detail. It's just too
Yeah,
much to do.
exactly.
So I just took
Exactly.
him
Well,
out.
yeah, I didn't even have it to start with, and I honestly was thinking about going back that way. I do like the look of it, though, so I'll probably keep him.
Yeah. So with that, we kind of went with the negatives of pig fetting. What are some of the positives? What are things that you enjoy? What's makes you keep doing it?
Honestly, for me, and this, this is kind of personal, so I don't know that this would be an answer for everybody, but I work with a guy who has a nephew who lives with him. There's a long story. We'll leave that alone. But I think the guy's his nephew is my age probably, but he has Down syndrome. So, his mind is more like a 4 or 5 year old, whatever. Probably a little bit older than that. I don't know. But anyway. When I first put this one out, I don't know, we were talking at work one day, and I was like, oh, hey, Tim, check this out, and he watched it. And he's like, man, that is awesome. He said, I'm going to send this to JoJo, because I think he would really like that. So I sent it to him, man, and, like, JoJo is eating it up. Like, when I tell you, like, loves it, here's, with the Rumble. So Flair won the Rumble because he cheated.
Yeah.
Like, JoJo calls my coworker the next day after it came out, and I could hear him yelling. He's like, Ric Flair's a cheater, he shouldn't have won that, stuff like that. So for me, that's why I do it. Like, literally, I mean, I only have like 23 subscribers on YouTube. It's like, views are pretty, I would say, low compared to what, some other stuff I've seen from people or whatnot. But he's really, and this is not a knock on anybody else, so like, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. But at the same time, if nobody watches it and he watches it, I don't care. That's he's why I do this right now. You know what I'm saying? Just for that, and it's, if somebody else likes it, that's great. Like I said, and I just enjoy it. I mean, it's like some downtime. You know what I'm saying? Or sometimes it's stressful, like you said, when stuff falls over. But
Yeah.
for the most part, it's just kind of, I've turned this into a hobby more than what I do. Like streaming is what I do. Like, a few nights a week, I can actually make some money off of that, and I enjoy that. And it's still kind of downtime because I'm playing video games, but at the same time, like, this is like it's just me and a camera and some toys, and that sounds really weird because I'm 44 years old. But anyways, it's what I enjoy doing. But
Yeah. Well, that's a great answer. That's something a lot of people should look to do, is just to give joy to at least one person. So
yeah, exactly.
So, we kind of want to get into your mind here. How do you process your stuff? How do you book your shows? How do you do your stuff like I do? I have a book here where I'm reading all my questions off. What's your process of putting together a show?
All right. So, like I said, when I first started, I wanted to do a tournament. I didn't want to just put the belt on somebody. And obviously using fan votes, that makes it a little bit more difficult. But what my process was to break down to see which four would make it out of that first round of the tournament, and then from that point, that's when I started to kind of wrap my mind around it. Like, when I had all 8 figures there, I was like, like I said, I picked 8 guys who I thought could be legitimate champions. Like, I would not have had any issue with any of the 8 that someone picked. But as it got kind of whittled down a little bit to, now you got 4 left, I started, like you said, you got a notebook. I got one as well, and I would kind of write some scenarios. Okay, if Rollins wins this match, then this is the direction we'll go.
Right.
Or if this, and then this, and started kind of to branch out. And, you know, from there, that's where I kind of developed everything that I have going on currently. So for me, once I knew that it was going to be Orton and Lesnar in the championship match, and then, of course, Rollins and Jericho in the television championship match, and then, of course, I had the Rumble to deal with. So from that point, that's where I would say, started building, you know, as far as the storylines and everything. So like Rollins now, you know, Houston Ball is Rollins' manager. They got the Industry, which, you know, Houston is the general manager, but he's, you know, the right-hand man. It's almost like the Authority gimmick a little bit with that. And, of course, we've added Wardlow to that, and we're going to continue to build on that side of things. But, you know, with the championship match, obviously it'll depend on if Orton or Flair, you know, wins at that point as far as that goes. But like when Omega and AJ Styles both lost the first round, which the votes on the first round was like amazingly, I think the biggest separation was Orton over whoever Orton beat the first one, Moxley. Orton over Moxley was like a separation of 3 votes or something. And everything else was like 1 vote, you know, so it was super close.
Wow.
But when I had AJ Styles and Kenny Omega, and I also have a Finn Balor figure, I'm like, I'm making the daggum Bullet Club, you know, and put them together. So that's kind of where that process went. So like I had a cold opening at the beginning of the show where, you know, Omega and Styles are sitting there, and it's like, bro, that should be us out there, you know. And both of them, you know, should have won the match. It was really close to winning, you know, the match, but they didn't. And then, of course, Balor walks up, and then, boom, that's kind of started. So I kind of build that way. And like I said, I've got a skeleton idea all the way around, but Lord knows what's going to happen next,
Right.
you know, especially with the way the fan vote goes. You know, so if I could just get fans on my side, you know what I'm saying, vote my way. All right.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the fan voting a little bit into it. I don't want to do it the whole show like you do. I'm trying to just do it based off one title. Like the social media title, I had a huge tournament. Every single figure that was active in my roster, people got to vote on. Came down to Cody Rhodes was the winner. This is a fan most favorite, I guess. So
Yeah, and
he's currently the champion.
I love that idea too, the social media thing and voting it down. That's perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm doing right now, I'm trying to have the fans vote on building a match card. So I'm trying to have them vote how many people they want in it, or kind of match who's in it, and all that stuff for 1,000 followers. So I want them to kind of
That's awesome.
have
Yeah,
fun
that's really cool.
building something and being a part of something that I put out. So
Yeah,
yeah, voting aspect's a really fun thing to do, but it gets a little difficult when if you planned it out ahead of time and they vote something else, you got to change it on the fly. And
yeah. That's why my notebook has these like lines. Okay, if then if, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah. So normally I like to end off with normally some people aren't near where their arena, but yours is right behind you. I like to see how their arena's set up, if that's fine with you.
yeah. Let me get this. I'll try to walk you over here without. I think I can switch you around too. Let's see.
And I'll kind of show
All right,
off
are we still there? Hopefully that won't be too shaky. Let me get some of this junk out of the way. All right, so basically, my arena, there's the ring, obviously, and I've got the, it's just the regular, I think this was an NXT ring that I got. And then, of course, I just put different ropes on it or whatnot. And my wife actually, I had a guy I worked with who does screen printing, and he had some leftover material, so he was going to attempt to make the Elite logo right there and put it down here on the ring skirt, but then obviously I have the TWF logo now, so it wouldn't have mattered. But so anyway,
Yeah.
my wife made these for me. She cut them, and we put some Velcro and stuff. So
Huh.
I could switch the colors out if I wanted, but I just kind of leave that
That's very
alone. But
cool.
yeah,
Yeah, I
and
just got the
then
80 one.
I got this light in the way. Let me try to bend it back a little bit. So I've got I don't even know which Extreme Sets thing this is. I have had a few years. It's the older one
Yeah.
with like just the generic faces on there and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I've
Yeah.
got that goes around, and I don't think these lights are plugged in at the moment. They're not. So, but I added actually the LED lights that change. I just put one layer of them. So I'll use those a lot. I mean, with the actual PicFed, I don't use them as much. I did it more if I was like taking a picture, or just posting like I used to do. Made it a little bit easier to have that lighting in there and look pretty cool. And then what I've done with all of the signs, so like I don't know if you can see it, Bad Billy J Belts. Sorry, it's a mouthful.
Yeah.
That's his logo there, and he made the belts for me or whatever.
Yeah.
And then of course we got like the Brian Myers and Matt Cardona's fig bed there. And then that is actually what I used to dress like when I was a manager to start with. I'm more of a tracksuit guy myself now, but Liddy Classic Comics, TDT, Tevin Turner, who's a local guy here that wrestles, that's actually his company or whatever. So I've tried to incorporate, companies I actually know, people I actually know, like American Lucha Wrestling right there that Roman's holding. That's where I wrestled, or where I was this past weekend.
Wow.
And then Tony Pizza Guy, pretty cool guy. He's one of the guys that runs DPW, the new show that's running like here locally. Toy Federation, greatest toy store in the world. If you're ever in, I believe it's Greer, South Carolina, maybe. Super great prices. I got the Ultimate Edition Batista there for like $15 maybe.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's awesome. And I have to do this, and he'll be embarrassed when I tell him about this later, but that right there is JoJo. I know it's kind of hard to see because my camera's not really focusing or whatever. I wonder if I bump it, if it'll focus. No, I guess not. But he's the guy I do it for. He's the super fan I put on there. So but anyway, so I got all those different things, and basically over here with the entrance, all I did was, it's like half of a shelf. I don't know if you can see it back here, like one of these plastic shelves, like the that you get like at Walmart. So I took half of that, or the bottom portion of that, and then I just stuck it's like, I don't even know what it is. It's like a foam box that my wife's medicine came in, and then I had these like old, like I think it was like Pony Hawk. I don't even know. I got this like at the stairs at like a toy show one time for like $1.
Yeah,
and I was like, I don't know if I'll ever use these, but hey, it worked out for this. So
yeah.
but then that's pretty much it. I can kind of back up a little bit because I have the Jumbotron here. I just put the Elite logo that I was originally going with.
Yeah.
Someone tried to tell me I was ripping that off at AEW. I literally used Elite because I'm using Elite figures, but it's whatever. People always got something to say.
Right.
But that's literally just an upside down cage, like for the standard size. I don't know if you can see it in there. So I got that there. And then I got a computer monitor up here where I just, like I said, I look up on YouTube whoever's entrance it is, and we'll start with part of that. And then that's pretty much it. I just got stuck up on a table, and all my extra garbage is down there with the extra figures and trash on the floor and whatever else. So it's pretty, I mean, it's, I have like the rails and stuff, or the guardrails and everything.
Yeah, I'd like to get those maybe. I might change this up since I'm building a second arena.
Yeah. Yeah, see, the guardrails you have I actually like, but everywhere I go to find ones that are the size that I want, they don't ever seem to be big enough, or the guy wants an arm and a leg for them, and I'm just like not willing to pay for it. So
yeah, I got mine off Amazon, and that's where
cool deal.
I think I'm gonna get the other ones off there too. But yeah, I like your setup. It's nice. You got a nice background. I also got a background. I got it from WrestleListic. I had to print mine out.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it's very nice though. I like it.
yeah, it's computer TV screen there. Just basic, simple stuff. So you said you're using the NXT ring.
Yeah, it was like it had an NXT apron on it, and I got it somewhere. It was like one of those after Christmas sales. I don't even know what the elite size rings run now, but I just remember it was like $20 cheaper than normal, and I thought, man, it would be nice to have a bigger ring instead of the smaller plastic ones, just because I feel like it allows them to stand up better.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think on the smaller plastic ones, a lot of times they end up falling pretty easily. So
Yeah. I'm going to use a little one for this Horizon show. I'm doing a whole new rebrand here. I'm got a new arena and stuff. Kind of get ECW vibes here. But
yeah,
I,
it looks really good. I like
I'm
that.
making crowd members. I printed out some people. I got a whole pile of people I got to make still, but I'm going to have this filled up with cardboard cut out of people's. But only issue I got is that they're like way, way taller.
Yeah,
So
no, I see it.
it'll look fine. It'll look fine. But yeah, that's
Oh
my
yeah,
current project. So, but also got a backstage area, little gorilla room.
nice.
I also have this.
Yeah, I used to when I was up in that other room upstairs in our house, we had a whole I had a 4x6 table with the arena and then a full 4x8 table with a backstage. We had like I built an office, we had the locker room. It was legit. It was really cool, and now that I don't have it, I'm kind of sad. But it is what it is, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I appreciate you coming on here. Everyone, make sure you go follow him. If you want to give out all the socials you want people to go follow, real quick.
Uh, yeah, that's fine. So it's whatever this account here is, what TWF. Uh, that would be there. I mean, I'm on Twitter and stuff, but I don't really get on that account very much. I just kind of made one to see how much, if there's any traffic on there or not, which there really isn't for figure stuff. But and then YouTube is just Toy Wrestling Fed, I believe. And that would be, I do all my shows on there right now. Which, originally I was going to maybe do something here on Instagram as well, but I just decided to do everything on there just because for me it's just easier to keep it all in one place. So that would be the biggest thing, and, go give me a follow if you want or subscribe, and if you don't know,
Right. Well, we'll leave it to this guys, the few people watching. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask right now. But yeah, I appreciate you joining here. I really enjoy your stuff. I think I've watched it all so far. I don't think I've missed any episodes, so I'm waiting for the next one. So
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I appreciate that. It'll be about, like I said, about a week and a half probably. Now the next one will be coming out, so.
well, I'll make sure to watch it. So appreciate you, everyone. Thanks for watching. Make sure to go follow him on his Instagram page right here, and go over to his YouTube channel where you can catch up all his videos. All righty. See you, man. Thank you.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem. Bye.
Bye.